I stared at the monitor and said, the transfer pattern is wrong. Ryan didn't look up. You're tired? Run it again. I already did. 3 times. Look at the timestamp. He sighed. You worry too much. I worry because if this clears, someone launders $40 million tonight. Ryan finally met my eyes. And if you're wrong? Then I'll apologize. From the glass wall, Lena waved. She mouthed, relax. I tapped the keyboard. The offshore node rerouted. Ryan leaned back. Our model approved it. Our model uses clean inputs, I said. These aren't clean. Lena entered and kissed my cheek. Still playing hero? I'm doing my job. She smiled thinly. Your job won't love you back. Ryan laughed. She's right. Breathe. I whispered, flag it. Delay the clearance. He shook his head. Cole wants it through. Mr. Cole appeared behind us. What's the hold? I said, sir, I recommend a pause. Cole frowned. Based on what? Anomalies in the transfer chain. Ryan cut in. We reviewed them. I stared at him. You said rerun it. Cole said, decision time. My screen flickered. I said, system's lagging. Ryan frowned. That's odd. Alarm should have sounded. They didn't. Cole snapped, status. I typed. Nothing responded. I said, controls are frozen. Lena stepped back. What did you do? I didn't do anything. Ryan said softly, the transfer's clearing. No, I said. Stop it. Cole barked, fix it. I can't, I said. The logs are gone. Ryan leaned close. You sure you didn't push bad data? I swallowed. I would never. The monitor flashed green. Cole exhaled. Completed. Silence hit me. Lena whispered, oh. Cole turned to me. Explain. I warned you, I said. Someone altered inputs. Ryan spread his hands. He was anxious all week. That's a lie, I said. Cole's voice hardened. Security. 2 guards approached. Ryan avoided my eyes. I said, check the audit trail. Cole said, we will. Lena said, baby, calm down. I laughed short and sharp. Calm? Cole said, you're suspended pending review. For reporting risk? For failure, he said. The guards waited. I grabbed my bag. Ryan, tell him. Ryan said, we'll sort it out. Outside, my phone buzzed. Lena texted, we'll talk later. I replied, did you see that? No reply. In the elevator, my hands shook. I called Ryan. Back me up. He said, not now. Why? I asked. Politics, he said and hung up. At home, Lena paced. You embarrassed them, she said. I tried to stop a crime. She said, you tried to stop your career. I said, you pushed me to take risks. Calculated risks, she said. My email chimed. Termination review initiated. I said, they're blaming me. She hugged me stiff. We'll manage. My laptop booted itself. Files opened I didn't touch. I said, that's weird. She said, you need rest. I checked timestamps. Someone accessed my system after submission. She said, you're spiraling. A knock sounded. I opened the door. No one. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello. Silence, then a click. Lena's phone buzzed. She turned away. I said, who's that? Work, she said quickly. She stepped into the hallway. I followed quietly. She whispered, it's done. I froze. He took the fall, she said. My chest went hollow. She said, yes, tonight. I stepped back. She returned and smiled. You okay? I said, yeah. Inside something broke. She reached for me. Sit. I said, I'm fine. She poured water. Drink. Why did Ryan lie? I asked. She said, people protect themselves. Do you? I asked. She met my eyes. Always. My phone buzzed again. Ryan, we need distance. I typed, distance from what? No answer. I said, Cole didn't even listen. She said, Cole listens to winners. I built that system, I said. You built stress, she replied. I laughed. You sound like him. She shrugged. I'm realistic. I opened my laptop. I can prove it. She put a hand on the lid. Not tonight. Why not? I asked. Because you'll make it worse. I said, you're scared. She said, I'm tired. I said, no. I opened it anyway. A folder vanished. I said, did you see that? She said, see what? Files are missing. She crossed her arms. Maybe you deleted them. I didn't. You don't remember everything, she said. I stood. Stop. She raised her palms. Hey. I said, someone is inside my system. She said, paranoia. I said, Ryan had access. She said, Ryan trusts you. He just hung up on me. She checked her phone. He's busy. I paced. This doesn't add up. She said, neither do you lately. I said, you pushed me to rush. I pushed you to be bold. I said, bold isn't blind. She sighed. You think I wanted this? I said, I think you knew. Her eyes flickered. She said, you're hurting. I said, answer me. She said, sleep. I said, no. My email pinged again. Security interview scheduled. I said, they're moving fast. She said, good. Clear it. I said, if the logs are gone, I'm dead. She said, don't be dramatic. I said, I heard you. She froze. Heard what? In the hall. She laughed. You misheard. I said, you said it's done. She said, I said dinner. You said he took the fall. Silence. She whispered, you're imagining. My voice shook. Say it again. She said, I love you. I said, say it. She said nothing. I stepped back. You used me. She reached out. I protected us. By killing my work? By saving our future, she said. My stomach dropped. I said, Ryan? She nodded once. I said, and Cole? She said, he wanted results. I laughed softly. So did you. She said, you'll land somewhere else. I said, after prison? She said, that won't happen. Because? I asked. She said, because it's clean. I said, you cleaned it. She said, we did. My phone vibrated. Ryan, I'm sorry. I showed her. She said, see? He cares. I said, he sold me. She said, he chose survival. I whispered, so did you. She said, don't hate me. I said, I trusted you. She said, trust is a luxury. I closed the laptop. I said, get out. She said, where would I go? I said, anywhere. She grabbed her coat. You'll thank me. I said, no. At the door she paused. She said, this is how it works. The door shut. I sat alone shaking. My system was gone. My name was next. I stared at the dark screen and said, I won't disappear. I breathed, counted seconds, and promised myself this was only the beginning tonight. I woke up and said, this feels unreal. Lena didn't look up from her phone. Because you're refusing to accept it. I was suspended overnight, I said. No meeting. No warning. She shrugged. Companies move fast. They blamed me, I said. For everything. She sighed. You were the last one on the system. I warned them, I said. You always say that, she replied. I checked my phone again. Messages kept coming. Fraud analyst failed basic controls. Another hero exposed. Internal leak says analyst panicked. I said, they're destroying me. Lena said, stop reading comments. They froze my account, I said. My card declined. She frowned. That's temporary. It says internal review, I said. I can't even buy coffee. She said, then make coffee at home. I stared at her. Do you hear yourself? She said, I hear stress talking. I called Ryan. He answered after the fourth ring. Hey, why didn't you defend me? I asked. He said, this isn't personal. They're saying I fed false data, I said. He cleared his throat. That's what the logs show. I didn't change anything. He said, the system disagrees. You helped build it, I said. You know me. He said, I know what I can prove. So you believe them? I asked. He paused. I believe the process. I laughed. Since when? He said, I'm advising you as a friend. Then tell the truth, I said. He said, truth needs evidence. I had evidence, I said. It vanished. That happens, he said. To me? I asked. He said, we all make mistakes. I lowered my voice. You said rerun it. I don't recall that, he said. You stood beside me, I said. I stood beside the decision, he replied. I said, you're rehearsed. He said, I have a meeting. With Cole? I asked. With leadership, he said. About my project? I asked. He didn't answer. Ryan, I said. He said, I hope you land on your feet, and hung up. I stared at the wall. Lena said, see? He's calm. He's careful, I said. Same thing, she replied. I opened my email. Security interview scheduled. Mandatory attendance. Legal counsel advised. My chest tightened. Lena said, that's standard. They're lawyering up, I said. She said, so should you. With what money? I asked. She said, you're dramatic. I left the apartment. Outside the city felt louder. My phone buzzed. Unknown, can we talk? I replied, who is this? Unknown, Maya. From work. I hesitated, then typed yes. We met at a small cafe. She sat stiffly. I shouldn't be here, she said. Then why are you? I asked. She looked around. Because it's wrong. What is? I asked. She leaned closer. The logs. I said, they blamed me. I know, she whispered. How? I asked. I saw access after your submission, she said. My heart jumped. You're sure? She nodded. Timestamps don't lie. Why didn't you report it? I asked. She said, I tried. And? I asked. They told me to stay quiet, she said. Who? I asked. Grant, she said. The legal officer? I asked. She nodded. He said I misunderstood. I clenched my fist. Did you save anything? She shook her head. They revoked my access. I said, why help me? She swallowed. Your work mattered. I laughed bitterly. Not enough. She said, it still does. My phone buzzed again. Bank alert, account restricted. I said, they're suffocating me. Maya said, that's the point. I said, will you testify? She hesitated. Not yet. I nodded. I get it. She said, be careful. Of who? I asked. She didn't answer. At home, Lena said, you look guilty. I met someone, I said. She raised an eyebrow. Who? Maya, I said. Her jaw tightened. Why? She knows the logs were altered, I said. She's junior, Lena said. Irrelevant. She saw proof, I said. She saw what she wanted, Lena replied. Why are you defending them? I asked. She said, I'm defending reality. My reality? I asked. She said, ours? My email pinged. Termination notice. Effective immediately. I stared. Lena read it over my shoulder. She said, I told you to let it go. They fired me, I said. They protected themselves, she replied. Another email followed. Notice of legal review. Potential liability. My hand shook. I said, they're threatening me. Lena said, don't fight it. You want me silent? I asked. She said, I want you safe. At whose cost? I asked. She said, you're not thinking clearly. A knock sounded. I opened the door. A man stood there. Grant, he said. Legal. I didn't invite you, I said. He smiled thinly. This isn't optional. He stepped inside. He said, sign this. What is it? I asked. A compliance statement, he said. I didn't do anything, I said. He said, this avoids escalation. I said, if I refuse? He said, we proceed aggressively. Lena touched my arm. Just sign. I looked at her. You too. She said, end it. I signed. Grant nodded. Wise. As he left, his phone buzzed. He said, congratulations are in order. To who? I asked. Ryan, he said. Project lead. The door closed. I sat down hard. They replaced me, I said. Lena said, it's done. I whispered, they stole my life. She said, you'll rebuild. I said, with nothing? She said, with peace. My phone lit up. Ryan, I've been promoted. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen. I said, he won. Lena said, he survived. I looked around the apartment. Everything felt borrowed. I said, I'm alone now. She didn't answer. Outside, my name trended downward. Inside, something hardened. I whispered, they think I'm finished. I closed my eyes and said, they're wrong. I waited until midnight and whispered, now. The apartment was silent. I opened the drawer and said, please still be here. The backup drive slid into my hand. I plugged it in and said, come on. The laptop hummed. I said, just like before. You remember. The screen lit up. I smiled for the first time in days. You're alive. I typed fast. Index files, I muttered. Rebuild pathways. The cursor blinked. I said, you didn't fail. They changed you. A warning flashed. Unauthorized access detected. I laughed softly. Too late. I pulled logs from memory. Timestamp mismatch, I said. There you are. My heart raced. I said, someone rewrote the input chain. The file opened. My hand shook. I said, Ryan, you idiot. Another alert popped up. Remote connection established. I froze. What? I yanked the cable. The screen flickered. I said, no. The laptop screamed. Lights burst from the keyboard. I jumped back. Stop. The power surged. The screen went black. I smelled smoke. I said, no. Pain punched my chest. I grabbed the table. Breathe. My legs failed. I hit the floor and whispered, not now. Darkness swallowed me. A voice echoed, stay with me. Another voice said, he's crashing. I tried to speak. Nothing came out. I woke up to beeping. I said, where am I? A woman replied, hospital. My throat burned. I croaked, my laptop. She said, easy. A man leaned over me. I'm Dr. Henson, he said. I said, I was attacked. He said, your heart stopped. For how long? I asked. 30 seconds, he said. Someone did this, I said. He checked the monitor. Stress can kill. I accessed proof, I said. Then it crashed. He paused. Proof of what? Tampering, I said. He lowered his voice. Did you have enemies? Yes, I said. He nodded slowly. That matters. A nurse entered. She said, visitor asked about him earlier. Dr. Henson frowned. Who? She glanced at me. A man. I asked, name? She shook her head. Didn't give one. When? I asked. Before you woke, she said. Dr. Henson said, did he touch anything? She hesitated. He stood near the monitors. My stomach turned. I said, did you let him? He said he was family, she replied. I laughed weakly. I have none here. Dr. Henson said, security? She said, he left fast. I said, did he ask questions? She whispered, if you'd wake up. Dr. Henson met my eyes. Listen carefully. I said, I'm listening. He said, someone remotely shut down your system. I said, you believe me? He said, the timing is too perfect. I swallowed. Can you prove it? He said, hospitals don't like trouble. So you won't, I said. He said, I'll warn you. About what? I asked. About being careful, he said. I nodded. I will. He leaned closer. You shouldn't be alive. That chilled me. Later a guard checked my band. I asked, can I see the cameras? He said, they're down. When? I asked. During the search, he said. I laughed. Of course. He frowned. You okay? No, I said. But I will be. Hours passed. Lena didn't come. Ryan didn't call. My phone buzzed once. Unknown, you should stop. I typed back, stop what? No reply. A nurse returned. She whispered, he came back. When? I asked. Just now, she said. Where is he? I asked. She shook her head. Security lost him. What did he say? I asked. He smiled, she said. That scared me. I closed my eyes. Dr. Henson returned. They erased CCTV, he said. All of it. I asked. Only this wing, he said. I laughed softly. Selective. He said, you're not safe. I know, I said. Go quiet, he said. I can't, I replied. He sighed. Then survive. I said, they tried to kill me. He nodded. Yes. I stared at the ceiling. They think I'm done, I said. Dr. Henson said, they think you're weak. I said, I was. He said, not anymore. My phone buzzed again. Ryan, are you okay? I typed, someone crashed my system. He replied, stressed as that. I typed, I almost died. 3 dots appeared. Then nothing. I smiled coldly. I whispered, he knows. A nurse said, rest. I said, I will. Inside something shifted. Fear burned away. I said, they crossed a line. Dr. Henson said, lines don't exist to them. They do to me, I said. The nurse adjusted the 4. She whispered, Be careful. I nodded. When the room went quiet, I spoke to myself. They unplugged my system, I said. They unplugged me, I said. I clenched my fist. They failed. The monitor beeped steady. I breathed deep. I'm still here, I said. I pictured the erased files. I pictured the smile. I said, you wanted silence. My pulse steadied. I said, you made me dangerous. The night pressed close. I smiled faintly and whispered, I survived. I lay still when Lena walked in and said, you don't have to come. She sat beside my bed. Of course I do. I kept my voice weak. You look tired. She smiled. So do you. I said, doctors say I was lucky. She said, I prayed. I watched her eyes. Did you? She said, don't start. I'm not starting, I said. I'm ending. She frowned. Ending what? Pretending, I said. She brushed my hand. You're fragile. I'm listening, I said. She sighed. You need rest. I need truth, I said. She looked away. You're obsessed. I almost died, I said. She said, from stress. From interference, I said. She stiffened. You're guessing. I said, I know. She laughed softly. You always think you know. I said, I heard you. She froze. Heard me where? In the hall, I said. She relaxed too fast. You misheard. You said my name, I said. She said, you're confused. I heard you say it was done, I said. She crossed her arms. You're inventing enemies. I'm naming one, I said. She stood. I won't do this. Sit, I said quietly. She hesitated, then sat. I said, who is Victor Hale? Her lips parted, then closed. I smiled faintly. So he's real. She said, you shouldn't say that name. Why? I asked. Because it's dangerous, she said. For me? I asked. For us, she said. There is no us, I said. She snapped. You're alive, aren't you? By accident, I said. She leaned forward. You don't understand how close we were. To what? I asked. To losing everything, she said. I said, you sold me. She said, I protected you. By leaking my access? I asked. She whispered, yes. My chest went hollow. I said, to Ryan. She nodded once. And Victor, I said. She closed her eyes. He needed patterns. So he could time the transfer, I said. She said, so he could finish clean. And when my system crashed? I asked. She said nothing. You knew it could kill me, I said. Tears formed. I thought they'd stop it. They didn't, I said. They promised, she said. I laughed quietly. Victor Hale promises? She flinched. He's powerful, she said. He's ruthless, I said. He's necessary, she replied. For money, I said. For safety, she said. You traded me, I said. I chose the future, she said. I said, without me in it. She grabbed my arm. I loved you. Love doesn't unplug hearts, I said. She cried. I didn't touch the system. You gave them the map, I said. She whispered, Ryan said it was harmless. Ryan lied, I said. She said, he said you'd bounce back. I stopped breathing, I said. She sobbed. I didn't know. You knew enough, I said. She wiped her face. Victor said risks exist. Whose risks? I asked. She whispered, yours? I felt something die. I said, you slept beside me. She said, I slept afraid. Of me? I asked. Of losing everything, she said. I nodded. Now you will. She shook her head. Don't threaten. I'm not, I said. I'm done. She stood. You'll expose us? I said, no. She blinked. No. I won't scream, I said. She exhaled. Thank you. I'll watch, I said. Her smile faded. I said, Victor built this on lies. She said, he built it on money. And Ryan built it on betrayal, I said. She whispered, they're careful. They're greedy, I said. She said, they'll survive. Greed eats itself, I said. She looked scared. You're different. I died, I said. Remember? She reached for me. Let me help. Leave, I said. She said, I can fix this. You broke it perfectly, I said. She whispered, please? I said, go back to Victor. She recoiled. Don't say it like that. Say it how? I asked. She grabbed her bag. You're cruel. I learned from you, I said. At the door she stopped. Victor warned me. About me? I asked. He said you're smart, she said. And? I asked. He said broken men are dangerous, she said. I smiled. He's right. She left without another word. The room felt colder. I stared at the wall and said, she chose silence. I said, so will I. My phone buzzed. Unknown, glad you're recovering. I typed, tell Victor the first remember everything. No reply. I laughed softly. They think quiet means weak, I said. I pictured Ryan sweating. I pictured Victor counting. I said, I won't touch them. I said, I'll step back. I said, and watch. My heart beat steady. I wasn't angry. I was empty. And empty had room for patience. I closed my eyes and whispered, destroy yourselves. I smiled once. That was enough. I sat in the dark and said, slow. Maya whispered through the call, I'm ready. Only partial, I said. No names. I know, she said. Enough to wake them. Send it to compliance, I said. Then regulators. She paused. This could burn me. I won't let it, I said. She said, you already almost died. So did the truth, I said. Tonight it breathes. Keys clicked. Maya said, it's out. I exhaled. Good. Silence followed. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown, audit inquiry received. I smiled. One domino. Maya said, Ryan's in meetings all day. Let him sweat, I said. Hours later Ryan called. Did you hear? He asked. Hear what? I said. Compliance flagged anomalies, he said. About time, I replied. His voice tightened. This isn't funny. I'm not laughing, I said. They're asking about access patterns, he said. Answer honestly, I said. He snapped, don't play games. I don't play anymore, I said. He lowered his voice. Was this you? I said, would it matter? Yes, he said. Then it's working, I replied. He hung up. Maya texted he's panicking. I typed stay quiet. She replied always. The next day news hit the wire. Overseas accounts frozen pending review. I said aloud, Victor. My phone rang. Lena's name flashed. I let it ring. She texted, can we talk? I typed no. She called again. I answered. What? Her voice cracked. Everything's gone. I heard, I said. Victor won't answer, she said. Shocking, I replied. She whispered, I'm scared. I was too, I said. She said, I didn't think it would collapse. I did, I said. She sniffed. I miss you. I said, I don't. Silence stretched. She said, Ryan's blaming me. Ryan blames everyone, I said. They're investigating him, she said. Good, I replied. She said, please tell me you didn't do this. I didn't, I said. She breathed out. Thank God. I let it happen, I said. Her breath hitched. What does that mean? It means consequences, I said. She said, you're cold. I'm clear, I said. She whispered, help me. No, I said. She cried. I loved you. I said, you chose Victor. She said, I chose survival. And I chose distance, I said. She hung up. Maya called. Regulators requested more, she said. Give them crumbs, I said. They want full logs, she said. Not yet, I replied. She said, this feels wrong. It feels fair, I said. I don't want blood, she said. Neither do I said. Just air. She laughed softly. You sound calm. I am, I said. Hours passed. Alerts stacked. Ryan texted, they're pulling me in. I replied, tell the truth. He wrote, you set me up. I typed, you set yourself. He called. You're enjoying this, he said. I'm watching, I said. They're threatening charges, he said. Then talk, I said. I trusted you, he said. So did I replied. He shouted, you're ruining everything. You ruined it first, I said. He whispered, Victor will crush you. Victor's frozen, I said. He went quiet. You did this, he said. I stepped aside, I replied. He hung up. Maya texted, Victor's shell companies are locked. I typed, breathe. She replied, I'm shaking. You're doing the right thing, I said. She said, what if they ask about you? Say nothing, I said. She said, I won't betray you. I know, I replied. That night Lena showed up. I opened the door. She looked smaller. She said, I lost my apartment. I'm sorry, I said. She said, no you're not. You're right, I said. She stepped closer. Victor's gone. Temporarily, I said. Ryan's collapsing, she said. He earned it, I replied. She said, you won. I didn't play, I said. She reached for me. I stepped back. She cried, please? Leave, I said. She said, I have nowhere. You chose that, I said. She whispered, I regret everything. I don't feel it, I said. She searched my face. Are you human? I survived, I said. She left. Maya called near midnight. They arrested Ryan, she said. Where? I asked. Boardroom, she said. In front of everyone. I closed my eyes. She said, he kept asking for you. I wasn't there, I said. She said, he looked broken. So was I replied. She said, what now? Nothing, I said. You could finish it, she said. I won't, I replied. Why? She asked. Because walking away is louder, I said. She exhaled. You're sure? Yes, I said. I hung up. I sat alone and said, they're reacting. I said, that's enough. My phone buzzed once more. Unknown, this isn't over. I typed it never was. No reply. I looked at my hands. They were steady. I whispered, karma breathes on its own. I turned off the lights. I slept without dreams. I woke up and said, it's quiet. Maya replied on the call, that's the sound of damage settling. Victor? I asked. She said, gone. Offshore inquiry turned criminal. Disappearances don't scare me anymore, I said. They should, she said. They already tried, I replied. A message buzzed. Lena, please read this. I didn't open it. Maya said, you don't have to. I know, I said. She asked, how do you feel? Clear, I said. She said, that's new. Silence helps, I said. Another buzz. Lena, I lost my job. My accounts. Everyone vanished. I locked the phone. Maya said, she's spiraling. So did I said. She said, regulators want testimony. Anonymous, I said. They agreed, she replied. Good, I said. I dressed and said, this ends clean. At the building a voice asked, ready? I said, as I'll ever be. A screen flickered on. A filtered voice said, state your involvement. I built the system, I said. I warned them. Why speak now? The voice asked. Because truth survived, I said. Name accomplices, the voice said. I won't, I replied. Why protect them? The voice asked. I'm not, I said. I'm protecting myself. A pause followed. Evidence? The voice asked. Logs partial, I said. Enough to verify. We see it, the voice said. Then do your job, I said. We will, the voice replied. The screen went dark. Maya exhaled. That's it. That's enough, I said. Outside my phone vibrated again. Lena, I know I don't deserve it but please answer. I showed Maya. She said, you won't? No, I said. She almost killed you, Maya said. She killed what I was, I replied. Another message appeared. Lena, I loved you. I was scared. I'm sorry. I deleted the thread. Maya watched quietly. You're free, she said. Almost, I replied. An email arrived. Internal review update. Maya read it aloud. Your name is cleared. I nodded. Another line followed. Offer of reinstatement. Maya smiled. Take it? I shook my head. No. Why not? She asked. Because cages can be clean, I said. She laughed softly. What will you do? I'll consult, I said. On my terms. She said, you earned that. I packed my bag. At home, the broken laptop waited. I sat in front of it and said, you tried. The screen stayed dark. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Yes. A voice said, this is Grant. I said, you sound tired. He said, it's over. For you, I said. For everyone, he replied. Victor. I asked. Facing extradition, he said. And Ryan? I asked. Charged, he said. I felt nothing. Grant said, you disappeared well. I learned, I said. You could have burned us, he said. I didn't need to, I replied. He paused. Goodbye. I ended the call. Maya texted, proud of you. I replied, thank you. Lena tried one last time. Lena, I see now. I lost you before I lost everything. I typed nothing. I powered on the laptop with a borrowed charger. The fan whined. I said, last file. A corrupted folder blinked. I opened it. One log remained. I whispered, goodbye. I deleted it. The system went silent. I leaned back and breathed. They thought crashing my system would end me, I said. It only rewrote me, I said. I closed the laptop and walked away alive.